and that sort of thing. And also, you mentioned a good point about unemployment. Okay, that's fair, actually. Let's see the responses in the chat. And for those of you typing in the chat, if you wanted to talk, feel free to. So Sissy says, driverless cars are probably more expensive. Not everyone can afford it. Okay, that's another fair practical concern. Intellian says, some people might like driving instead of machine. Okay, I have a question to you. Why does it matter what people like? Because isn't it more important to save lives than to just make allow people to do something that they might enjoy? Chris asks, isn't it? It's like telling everyone they have to switch to solar power. I don't think that's actually that. I guess that's a fair comparison, but it's not completely true because, well, the main problem with solar power is that it's too expensive. So what if we issued driverless cars to everyone instead of forcing them to buy it? Or what if we like gave grants to allow people who can't afford them like to buy them at a cheaper price? Probably can't do that right now, but in the future with more advanced technology, that could be possible. Anthony, you still have your hand raised. Did you just forget to put it down, or do you have another point? Okay.
My bad.
All right. Okay, so y'all raised some pretty good practical concerns with switching to switching to driverless cars that I didn't really consider actually. So that kind of wraps up this discussion. Anyone have any other thoughts on this before we move on to the next one? Some people might not have enough money. Yeah, that's one of the primary practical concerns. Okay, I guess let's take a vote on the next one we should do then. These are the remaining options. We can cover 2 of them out of 4. And please only vote once. Lots of 2s and 3s. Okay, let's do 2 and 3. So we're not doing 4 and 5. Where is it? Okay, so this is number 3. It's a shorter one. Let me know when everyone is done reading it. Okay, a couple people joined. I'm not sure if you were kicked out accidentally and then joined back, or if you just came. If you just came, then right now we're going over ethics bowl cases. So read this, and then we're going to go over the study questions in like 30 seconds. Also, I think a bunch of people are getting kicked out. Actually, is that true? Are people getting kicked out from the meeting room? Because I've noticed that sometimes people come in and then I have to accept them like 3 times. Maybe I should remove the waiting room. Okay, well, in any case, if you're having problems with getting kicked out, type something in the chat. Hopefully I can try to fix that. But let's move on to the discussion. Study question. So this one we're kind of more going to focus on the study questions, unlike last time where we were kind of unguided. I see Sean. Okay, so number 1. Is Kate morally permitted to work while sick, given that she needs the money and needs to keep her job? Why or why not? I see that some people already typed in the chat. Feel free to, once again, unmute and talk in the voice channel. But I'll read the ones in the chat first. So someone said, Anthony says Kate should take sick leave. Do you want to explain why in the voice channel?
In most major countries, there's paid sick leave where you could, like, most companies should provide that, in which they like, you get sick and then you can leave for like a few weeks while you recover, and you still get paid.
I feel like there would be no dilemma if there was paid sick leave. So let's assume that there's not paid sick leave. Otherwise, it mentions specifically that it says nearly 43 million private section workers hold jobs that don't offer paid sick leave.
Then I'd assume if she wears a face mask to prevent the spread, then.
Okay.
If she wears a face mask, then it'll be fine.
Okay. And just to be clear, wearing a face mask, there's still like a small risk of catching. So do you think that it's okay to have a small risk of transmitting the virus, or do you think that she shouldn't go no matter how much risk there is?
The risk has to be there, because without the money, she can't start going on treatment, and
Okay, that's a good point. Anyone disagree with that? Italian says Kate should go to work since her family depends on it. If people get sick, it's her boss's fault since he/she didn't pay Kate while she was sick, and her family's life depended on the money. Okay, that's a really good point. But what about this problem then? If Kate goes to work sick, the people that she's getting sick are probably the customers and the fellow employees, not the boss. So is it fair to get customers and fellow employees sick, even if it's the boss's fault?
If all her workers and customers get sick, the boss will still have to, like, it'll be like karma. Because, like, if all the employees get sick, then none of the customers will go, and then the boss won't make money.
Well, I guess that might be true in the long term, but it probably still damages
the boss doesn't make money. Then how will Kate and the other workers get paid?
Yeah, they're gonna get like laid off, and then it'll be an even worse situation.
No, but doesn't she work at like a franchise or like a chain restaurant?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how those operate, but my point is it fair to get the customers sick? Because the customers have nothing to do with the boss or the employees. And he says, oh wow, that's a very long response. Let me just read it. Okay, so, and he says, Kate should not be allowed to work considering the impact it can have on the entire company. The economy is important. Kate will recover faster if she stays home, which will help her since she'll have less of a risk of losing her job. And she is helping maintain customers, which will help her receive a raise faster since the business will be better. All the employees have lives and can't only consider one employee. Okay, that's a fair response. But for Annie, let me ask you a question too then. Would your response change if Kate was a single mother whose children depend on her making money and keeping her job as well? Because there's no guarantee that she's going to keep her job. There's so many fast food. There's so many people that are unemployed, especially like this is so relevant now, right? Given the COVID situation. So maybe if she stops going to work for like 2 weeks, she's going to get fired. Or she might just not have the money to support her family. So sure, it damages others, but is there really a choice for her? And if she were to make the choice of supporting her family and going to work and getting someone sick, do we blame her for getting the person sick?
If she's a single mom, right, and then she works at a fast food restaurant, then her kids can get like the free cafeteria food, right? So
Okay, well, we still need money for other things too. They might not like starve to death, but they're going to be like suffering. Sean asks, can't she just contact her boss saying she is sick? Well, yeah, but then she's not going to go to work. And I mean, like these fast food restaurants operate a lot differently than um, like office jobs. In office jobs, it's probably okay just to work from home and contact your boss. But um, in this case, it's a very different situation. Also, I'm starting to notice a lot of parallels actually with COVID. This question is kind of the individual version of a larger question we have in our country, which is when should the government reopen the economy, right? Because currently, with the economy closed, there's millions of workers that have lost their jobs and that are unable to adequately support their families. So to them, it's really important to reopen the economy. However, on the other side, obviously, there's arguments that reopening the economy too soon is going to cause even more infections and even more deaths. So what are your opinions on that? And by the way, unless someone else is talking, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just talk. Rella asks, it's the question of public safety versus economy. Yeah, that's true. And when we're considering the economy, we also have to remember that the economy has a direct impact on the well-being of a lot of people. So it's not just like the big businesses earning money, it's also people who, like the working class, people who actually need money, losing money due to the economy failing or due to the economy being closed for too long. Intellian asks, it's also the question of the importance of Kate's family versus customers. That's true. Okay, Annie says, if I were to answer completely of my own opinion, then it should be considered. It depends on the situation of her and the company. The company can't just let her work because if they agree to her, then the company will have to agree to a lot of other employees, which causes a big problem. Logically, it would be possible that Kate could have worked harder and find a better job, a different job, not involving her being there. If she does not have the ability to make a living, then we can't sacrifice the majority for one person. It's sad but true. Hmm. Why do you say we can't sacrifice the majority for one person? It feels like the concept of the social safety net, the concept of, like, for example, social security or paid sick leave is kind of, it's not directly, but it's indirectly kind of sacrificing the majority to help the underprivileged. So why is it different here?
Because wouldn't all the people just technically kind of be equal on so on like a scale of a society?
So if we assume that everyone is equal, then do we make the choice based on how many people it affects?
Well,
Or how
I
do we
guess
decide?
if we sacrifice like many people for just one person's life, then or that wouldn't be really equal because you would be sacrificing multiple people for just one person.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Violet says, I think public safety trumps economy because the deficit of money for Kate won't impact the general public. Well, there's a lot of things that don't impact the general public, but it's still important to ensure like there's a safety net for everyone, I think. Susie says, yes, morally, that is probably right to sacrifice yourself for more people. However, most people probably care for their families more than strangers. That is also true. Anthony says, if Kate has a face mask and a solitary job, well, Anthony, the whole problem is that she does not have a solitary job. And he says, it's different because we're giving them pay instead of the risk of our life and health. Okay, that's true. That's definitely an important distinction to make between what I was talking about and this case. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Annie. Thanks. Anthony asked, what's the risk of infection? It doesn't say that, but probably like let's just assume like 5% or 10%. Or actually, Anthony, let me ask you, why does that like at what point at what risk of infection should our decision change? Or should your decision change?
I'd say like if it was like maybe if it was say if the infection rate was either was like over 10% because that over 10%.
Okay. Well, that's actually quite high, because I mean, if you consider the amount of people who have COVID in the United States, it's far less than 1%, but that's still like a huge risk.
Fair
I
enough.
can see your point. Okay, and finally, we're actually going to skip question 3 because I want to get to the next discussion since we were pretty split on the vote between 2 and 3. So anyone have any closing thoughts on this discussion, first of all?
I think this is the dilemma facing many service workers today.
Yeah, definitely. With the situation going on, it's definitely very relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, let's go to this one. You guys actually voted differently. In the other session, we also did 1 and 2, but we ended up doing 4 instead of 3. But we can do 3 here. 3 is a bit of a longer one, so please tell me when you're done reading.